Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of using Blender for Minetest game asset creation, or something along those lines. In this video we're going to be covering, I think it's like 3 things that were suggested on the forum thread, which should be linked on my website for this video and probably in the video description as well. I wish I knew how to pronounce this, but Hajo maybe, or I don't know. But anyway, they wanted me to do a video on how to do wall painting, carpet, and big signs. Those 3 things can actually all be done the exact same way, so I'm going to make one video and cover everything. I have loaded the startup blend, which can be gotten off of my website from the first video in this series, and we're just going to make a default cube and scale that, and that did not work. Scale that 0.5. So now it is the size of a full node. Obviously, however, we don't want this to be the size of a full node, so we're going to select the top face, hold down the control key, and move this down. So we now have a node that is as wide and deep as a full node, but is only 1/10 tall, which actually works really well for the decimal system that we use for defining the collision and selection boxes. Now, we should probably unwrap this just so it works. So let's go ahead and just select everything and unwrap, and we'll see we get this nice square. I'm going to go ahead and make a color grid here, just to point out one error that we're going to have. And take a look, see here, the top looks fine and dandy, the bottom looks fine and dandy. The edges, not so much, it's squishing the entire texture. So what we need to do is select all the edges, not the top face, just the edges. Okay, that's not working at all, let's do this. 1 edge, 2 edge, 3 edge, 4 edge. Okay, we have those 4 edges, and unfortunately there's 8 spaces here, which makes that kind of icky. And that was the wrong way to go, I guess. Let's try this direction. Basically, we should be showing, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a 10th, so we should be showing a little less than this. Let's maybe move it. That I think would be too little. It needs to be like that point there. So you can hit the G key and then use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move it to the left till we match up pretty much exactly on that line. That's good enough, I think. Basically, we want those squares to be the same size as these squares. Honestly, I think they're probably stretched a little too far, but you know, that's gonna work. So we'll exit out of edit mode, and we'll switch back to the default mode here. I'm gonna change it to texture, hitting the Z key to pull up the little dialog here. And this is the basis of our sign or carpet or painting. All we're gonna do now is export this baby out. So file, export, OBJ. I already have this file because I already created this one, but we're going to overwrite it. We want to export selection only, because the only thing we want exporting is that little sheet piece. Write normals, yes. Include UVs, yes, we want that. Don't write materials. That creates an MTL file. Minetest does not use it and will actually spit out warnings about it. And then material groups, we actually don't need selected on this one because it's only using one material. If we were going to do multiple materials, like say the front face was going to be our picture and then the sides were going to be some other material, we would want to make sure we have material groups, and that pretty much lets it know to have multiple materials for the mesh. But we're only using one material, so we'll just do that. Export the file. Let's go ahead, move these files into place. Alright, so I have my good old new mod here. And I've got models, and here's the model I just exported, which is the exact same size as the pre-existing one. I want to go ahead and replace that, however. So we have this brand new mesh sitting in here. Now let's go ahead and open Atom. Now I've already gone ahead and added all the code, so I'm just going to go over this briefly. We're registering a node, obviously, and I just called it sheet for no other reason than because it's kind of a sheet. We're defining the mesh as sheet OBJ. Tiles, we have the texture, which I'm just using default wood from default. Param type, light, it's important that you have a param type of light on any mesh draw types or they will show up pretty much black. Param type 2 facer, that pretty much just makes it so when you face different directions, the node will place in those directions. And I'll demonstrate that when we get in game. Selection box, it's a full node, except it's much shorter. So the height of it is at -0.4 for the selection and collision box. And then we are using the onPlace Minetest rotate node. And, oh, I didn't have Minetest open. Let me go ahead and open Minetest. And let me just, yeah, I'll just leave it there. I think I had this in my scaffolding, I believe. Yeah, okay. So I got all sorts of garbage going on here. Sweet, I do have that priv. Okay, yeah, ignore these lights that are sitting around here. I had to use those to figure out how to make this work. So, for starters, we can place a wooden carpet. Beautiful, beautiful, is it not? Let's demonstrate the face dir now. I can stand this direction and place carpets. And they face the other direction, and I can do that. And it'll face the other direction. And I can do things like this. And create a pinwheel type texture. And if we didn't have face dir, every single one of these would be facing the exact same way. Now, so far we've seen how that works like a carpet. But it also works as a wall sign. Just like this. And that is because of the Minetest, or the onPlace Minetest rotate. I was actually not familiar with that, but I knew that there were a few mods that used something that made nodes magically rotate to whatever face they were placed on. And yeah, so I looked at the code for the Industrial Lights mod and seeing that they were using this Minetest rotate node thing. So that lets us put them up on the sides. We can put it underneath things as well, as I did over on this odd dirt protrusion. We can place them on the undersides as well. So that would work for carpets. It would work for paintings. You would obviously have to make sure that your textures were running the right direction, so your painting would show, you know, right side up, because you wouldn't want to put a painting on your wall and have it sideways or upside down. That would just look silly. Now, to go further on, they wanted to do like signs, which were pretty much just bigger versions. So to do that, we can actually just take this and let's do these two sides. Let me see, how do I do this? So I selected the two outside edges. Let's actually go to wireframe so we can see that. I can do scale with the S key, then X to constrain it to the X axis. And now when I move my mouse in, I'm only scaling in that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Actually, I'm just going to type in 1.5. Now let's change scale X. Let's scale twice. So now this is 2 nodes wide. And we're going to select the top and bottom. And we're going to scale that one. This time we're on the Y axis. So we'll hit the Y key, 1.5. So now we have made this a larger mesh, and I'm going to go ahead and just export it over the, no, actually I'll make a new one. So we're going to call this sheet 01. And then we will go ahead and throw that model in here. Then we'll go back into Atom, and I will just copy and paste this entire bit. Oh wait, I don't think I can use dashes. It has to be an underscore. Underscore 01. I don't remember if I named that. I did name it dash. I don't think that's a problem. I think just mod names. We're going to find out in a second here though. Collision and selection boxes would need to be changed. But okay, that did work. I haven't looked at what needs to be changed for that. So here displace is larger. So we would need to make this selection box wider. Collision box you'd want to as well. So when you walk on it, you actually step at the right time. And so, you know, you can be putting your cursor here and actually select this face instead of the node that's underneath it. But this still works the exact same way, where you can place it on the floor, you can place it on walls. We see here that obviously this is rotating the wrong direction, and we're getting some flickering because multiple faces are inside of each other, and it does not know which Z should be getting drawn, or X or Y, whatever it happens to be in this case. But yeah, that is how you do that. Obviously this mesh needs to be rotated, so we'll just go ahead and do that. Tab into edit mode, select that, rotate with R key, hitting control to constrain it, tab out of edit mode, and then we will just export this right over sheet 01. And then we have to copy that over this, replace please, and that should be it. We'll open this back up, and the wood texture now runs sideways, as it should. These ones were actually all exported turned 90 degrees as well, so if I had a painting on there, these paintings would all be sideways. But you'll notice that all of these are now displaying the correct way. That's actually also adjustable outside of rotating the mesh. When you export your file, you have a forward and up direction here, and you can change those around to change your orientation. I'm sure if I spent some time I could actually figure out what exactly those mean, but it's always been easier for me just to rotate the model to make the rotation work. So yeah, that covers this. I know I didn't really cover how to do textures for it at all, but it's super easy. You would just do, you know, we have our layout here. You know, say you wanted one that said cheap food. You would just make a square image, or in this case, this is not quite square. So actually, let me show how to do this real quick. Just because there's people that will probably want to know how to do this. If we go into our top view, we can unwrap. Okay, I don't know what key I just hit there, but I do not want to do that. Unwrap, and we want to project from view, and that'll give us a it's the correct ratio for this. So then we just scale this larger, and now we have something that the ratio is right on, and we'll just pop that there. And then the sides of this were not affected by unwrapping that, so they still maintained the old wrapping that I had done on there. And then these, you would just export it like we did in the last video, take it into your image editor, write your text. Now you'd have to keep in mind this is going sideways like this, so you would have to rotate this 90 degrees counterclockwise, write on it, and then rotate it 90 degrees clockwise again to put it sideways. Of course, there is absolutely no reason why you couldn't just rotate your UVs right here and export it and have it right side up, and then write cheap food or cheap fish or fresh bakery or danger or whatever you want to put on your sign. It's as simple as that. Just create your texture. Use that instead of the wood texture that I was using, and you would be in business. So that wraps this video up. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. Hajo. I honestly have no idea how to pronounce like 95% of the names I read on the internet. It's probably because people come up with names that aren't even real names, and it's international, so that might be a word in another language, and I only know English and un poquito de español. So, y esa palabra no es español. So I don't know how it's supposed to pronounce. But there we go. Wall paintings, carpets, and big signs. So hopefully that answers your questions. Hopefully that's helpful for other people. If you have any topics you would like me to cover, feel free to leave a comment on this video or on the forum topic on the Minetest forums. Those will both be, well, the video comments obviously are below, but the forum topic will be linked probably on my website, maybe in the video description. I don't know. I'm usually not too good about linking things in the video description, but I always have them all linked on my website. Yeah, so if you got questions, let me know. I'll see what I can do for you. If you want a model made, but you don't want to go through the hassle, it's honestly not a hassle learning. It just takes a while. But if you don't want to learn, I mean, more power to you, I guess, if you want to stay dumb all your life. But know that I do freelance work. So shoot me a line. All that information's on my website as well, which is definitely linked in the description. And yeah, I'll see what I can do for you. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.